Hi, welcome to The Minutes. Jeff Walters is away this week. I'm Stephanie Reid. Thanks for listening today. It's great to have you along on The Minutes for the week of August 26th, 2024. This is a City of Thunder Bay podcast. The Minutes takes a look at what happened at Thunder Bay City Council this past week, and you can find The Minutes wherever you get your podcasts, and also on our YouTube channel and our website, thunderbay.ca/The Minutes. On this episode, we'll have a rundown of what happened at this week's City Council meeting and an interview with Dave Paxton, Chief of Thunder Bay Fire Rescue. Council approved the purchase of a new pumper truck last night. Chief Paxton will give us some more info on that and more in just a couple of minutes. But first, an electrical storm caused some technical difficulties at the meeting last night. After a few short stoppages to deal with separate audio and video problems, the issues were ultimately resolved. The evening began with a public meeting where City Council approved some changes to the official plan and zoning bylaw, along with identifying some lands that are subject to site plan control. The changes are in relation to the city making more areas available for housing. Some of the properties are near golf links and Oliver Road, the former Dawson Court on North Algoma Street, and May Street North. The changes would allow for housing in these specific areas that weren't previously zoned for residential use. Council also approved the extension for the draft plan of a subdivision by De Gregorio Developments. The subdivision would be just north of Roslyn Road between Murphy Avenue and R.S. Piper Avenue. The 26-lot development for single detached homes would have city water but private septic systems. The one-year extension is to finalize agreements between the developer and the city, as there have been delays stemming from the septic systems, which required design changes. Two items then arose from closed session, which was held earlier in the evening, one of which was a legal matter related to lease negotiations. Council provided direction to administration to proceed. The second item directed the city clerk to begin a review of potential changes to the structure of council meetings. A preliminary report is due before the end of October. Council also got an update Monday night about the status of the current budget. In a report, administration says at this point, the city should end 2024 with a surplus of $1.6 million for the year. This works out to 0.7% of the city's total tax levy, which is just over $230 million. Overall, corporate revenues are higher than budgeted, and staff vacancies have saved the city money. WSIB costs remain higher than expected for Thunder Bay Fire Rescue, and higher wages for staff in recreation and culture will have a negative impact on the budget. But the projections also show that rate-supported items, services that are paid for by the end user, specifically the landfill and sewer services, will have a favorable variance of about $400,000. This is largely due to higher than expected revenues. Looking ahead to the 2025 budget, Council approved the 2025 budget direction. This means that administration can now go forward and prepare the budget. Council also approved a target tax levy increase of 3.8% next year, and the city manager will ask outside boards and agencies to prepare their budgets to be in line with that 3.8% increase. Using the same methodology, the target increase for 2026 would be 2.6%. To keep this figure in line, administration will have some constraints. They include limiting increases to capital financed by taxes and limiting user fee increases both to 3.8%, limiting personnel increases to 1%, and limiting investment on new items to 20% of the total capital budget, meaning the vast majority of capital works would be spent on maintenance of existing items. If these factors are not considered, it is estimated the budget could increase 6 to 8%. Growth for 2025 is expected to be just over $1 million, and administration has recommended creating a policy to add an amount similar to the projected growth to a reserve fund to be invested in future community growth and innovation. Administration also notes the overall goal is to keep city services financially sustainable. Council approved the purchase of a new pumper truck for Thunder Bay Fire Rescue on Monday. The truck will cost about $925,000 after taxation discounts have been factored in. Built in Winnipeg, the new pumper will replace a truck that has been in service since 2003. And is currently in reserve status, meaning it is used when frontline vehicles are in for servicing or repair. Chief Paxton will tell us more about it in a few minutes. And finally, Council approved a resolution from the Intergovernmental Affairs Committee asking to re-examine the dangerous goods route through the city. Earlier this year, the committee heard from two groups, We Are the Nuclear Free North and Environment North, who had concerns over the storage and transportation of nuclear waste. Both groups spoke about the proximity principle, the idea that waste should be managed as close as possible to where it is produced. The province does not support the proximity principle, and at the time it was not endorsed by council. However, Intergovernmental Affairs does recommend the city manager work with administration to report on current dangerous goods routes and make any suggestions that may better protect the citizens of Thunder Bay. Councillor Folds brought forward an amendment that the City of Thunder Bay advocate to other levels of government to store nuclear waste as close as possible to the site where it was generated. Letters will be sent on behalf of the city to members of Parliament and the appropriate ministers. And that's a wrap on what happened at Council this week. For more information on anything that happens at Council, please visit our website, thunderbay.ca/council. When you first call the fire department, you trust that the equipment that they arrive in is in quality condition and able to successfully battle the blaze. The City of Thunder Bay has a policy in place to ensure that that is always the case, allowing fire apparatus to operate in frontline service for 15 years before being moved to reserve status for another 5, before being considered end of life and being replaced. That time is nearly here for one of our fleet's pumper trucks, and last night Council approved the purchase of a replacement truck at a total cost of about $940,000. Thunder Bay Fire Rescue Chief Dave Paxton is here to tell us more. Chief, thanks for joining me in the Minute Studio.
You're welcome, no problem.
So just as you got started last night, there was an issue with the power and the camera was knocked out. So there was a bit of a brief recess, but the meeting resumed with your capital request for a new pumper truck. The new truck is a significant amount. $940,000 is a real investment. It's almost double, correct me if I'm wrong, of the last one. Can you explain the factors contributing to the increased cost?
Yeah, so the industry itself has seen a spike, emissions improvements, cost of steel, the U.S. dollar, many factors that go into it. But over the last 3 years, I want to say that the inflationary prices in the fire truck industry have gone up about 30% per year. You know, as I mentioned, some of it was due to the parts and the improvements required. So our last truck of this model that we purchased was somewhere around the $500,000 mark, and it's now at $940,000 plus taxes. So components in there, foam systems, and everything is that much larger. But you look at your half tons as an example; they used to be 40,000, 30,000, and now they're 90 to 120. So everything's relative, although it's still a big amount to spend, and we do our best to stretch the life of our equipment. But as you mentioned in the intro, it's got to be reliable, and we take care of the outside of it, and our mechanics do an excellent job of servicing it and doing what they can, but everything underneath gets a salt. We live in a salt environment, right? So that the thaw freeze cycle that it goes through, and our trucks are stored indoors in a ready state all the time, it just eats the underside of the trucks. So these trucks after 20 years are at a point where they need extreme amounts of maintenance just to keep them reliable. And pretty much when we do run them in service, they're usually back out of service shortly after for other repairs that we don't expect. So
I think 20 years seems like a reasonable length of time to keep a vehicle. I think when you bring up a half ton, I don't think most of us expect to keep the same truck more than 20 years. Yeah,
so our frontline trucks are 15 years. So those trucks are the ones that are at our stations every day. And our reserve apparatus, we call them, we keep 3 to 4 of those. I think we have 3 right now because 1 is out of service, so our 4th one. And that allows us to rotate for repairs, for maintenance, if we do have a breakdown. And then if we do have a significant major event, we can up staff. So those trucks are also ready to go for that. So, you think of large fires in the past where we've had to call in overtime crews to help sustain it, and those are our trucks for that as well. So yeah, we've had accidents in the past where we've lost a truck for 6 months as it's being repaired. These trucks would go into service on a more regular basis. So yeah.
Great. Can you walk us through the process of how you maybe budget for a truck like this?
5 years ago, it used to be a 1-year budget. We'd put in the forecast 3 years out, although our budget, long-term budgeting, and as it was mentioned last night on the budget process, the asset replacement cycle for all city assets, we've got a 15 to 20 year projection although we fine-tune it 3 years out as we look at those trucks that need to be replaced, or can we extend it another year? And then we put it into the budget cycle. This truck that was awarded last night, we won't see for probably 18 months once we give the purchase order. So we still got to nurse the other one for another year and a half at least.
Wow. There was some questions about what do you do with them afterwards last night that I thought there were some sort of interesting answers to. Can you go into what we do with them once they're done? They've passed reserve and...
Right. So the city's purchasing bylaw, anything over $250, we have to look at options, right? That gives us return on investment for the city. So we'll look at, is there an availability of auctions? And do we get value for that? I think our last truck that went through auction, we got $6,000 for it, as an example. One of the trucks was picked up by a mine just to water the roads, but it's not used in a fire service capacity just because they can't maintain the certification of the pump that has to put out a certain amount of water and be tested annually. So when we look at our departments in the area, if there's a need and we can help, for sure, we would look at that opportunity to, for the city to provide an opportunity and investment in our neighbors. But most of those departments also don't have the same mechanical support. They'd have to send those trucks in for service. That can be expensive, and if you're giving them something that requires a regular amount of service just to keep it going, is it fair to that department? But we would consider it. And then you're also looking at other options like Firefighters Without Borders is a good example. Some third world countries will take fire trucks, and that's better than what they got, but it doesn't meet the standards of our road requirements and the safety components that go with it.
Yeah. Can we just talk about the truck for a minute? I think most people think fire trucks are cool, and so I think I know what a pumper truck is, but can you explain what it does and some of the technology that's in it?
So significant amount of water weight and equipment that has to be so we our truck plans allow for our setup. I guess it's a pretty standard truck, but the box on the back will be orientated to bring our equipment that we need at the station. So Auto X equipment or other rescue equipment, stabilizing airbags, hydraulic cutters, ladders, forcible entry tools, hoses, nozzles, medical equipment. So all those components, as well as our breathing apparatus. So those components are built into the truck and spec'd out, and then the truck has to meet the requirements. So the horsepower, Thunder Bay is not a flat surface, right? So we need enough weight and horsepower in that truck to be able to respond in a rapid manner, right? So the horsepower differential, the braking power, and so the size of those are our mechanic and our specs ensure that it's a safe truck. There's rollover safety equipment built in. There's airbags built in, as you would in everything else. Some of the new areas that are looked at is how can we clean the truck on a regular basis to make sure the carcinogens that we bring in and out of these fires, we can get them out of our workplace after we're finished that event. And then durability is another piece, right? We get in and out on a regular basis, and under rapid or extenuating circumstances, high pressure events, you're not really too careful when you get in and out. You're moving around, so we want durability and functionality. So are the steps too high? Do we have the proper handholds to get in and out just to minimize injuries? And as well as the ride. So pretty much all trucks now have air ride suspension as well, so to soften some of that banging and clanging on our roads. And so just those things are all put in. The lights and the siren package, there's standards that go with that. So there's minimum reflective components. Sight lines have to be a certain height so that oncoming traffic can see and hear you coming.
There's a lot to think about. A lot of those things I hadn't really considered. I didn't really address this at the beginning, but we just want to, extend our congratulations on your appointment as being the new chief. I think this is maybe our first opportunity introducing you here on the podcast, and I know you're not new to the fire service, but how has it been your first, I guess, 2 months officially, but since sort of the beginning of the year acting, right?
Yeah, so I started acting for Chief Hankio upon his retirement at the beginning of February, and it's, as you can imagine, things you don't expect, even though you're around it, as they're now on your lap. And those organization pieces, the time requirements, the amount of meetings, the stuff that you don't get to do anymore, the interaction in the office and that availability as you start to interact with all city departments, not just internal. So previously, for the previous 12 years, I was operational, I was internal, with some interdepartmental operational stuff, but the majority of my focus was internal. So that's basic difference is those meetings and those interactions and those overall city operations and that interaction to be at the table, to be contributing, to be informing budget stuff like we just talked about. How is it reflecting our budget? How are we reflecting on the overall infrastructure development and operations budget? And those conversations and also the opportunities for the learning of those and recognizing what else is going on in the city and not just in your own silo.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet it's a lot. And congrats again, and congrats to your new deputy that you've got as well. And, thank you again for coming in. Is there anything you guys have going on or anything you'd like the folks to know about while you've got their ear?
A couple things coming up. We got our annual FireCon event. It's not Thunder Bay Fire, but we're a big part of it. We participate in it annually, so that's a regional event. Next week, after the long weekend, we're majority are volunteer fire departments from the area that come in. It's at the Valhalla this year, so the fire marshal and other partners help to do all the training and provide those opportunities for the local fire departments. People now are coming, not only in northwestern Ontario, but Kenora on a regular basis. Anyone in truly the northwest. But we're also getting Southern Ontario people flying up just because of the quality of the event. And at the same time, Thunder Bay Fire is hosting a Camp Molly, so it's a unique event targeted at high school age females to experience the role in the career of the firefighter, to put a career path in front of them, to show them what's available. So that's also happening at the same time, kind of in conjunction, but separate events. So it's a little bit of a busy time for us here in September.
Wow, that's awesome. Having tons going on. Again, thanks again, Chief, for coming in. Dave Paxton is the Chief of Thunder Bay Fire Rescue. He joined me here in the Minute Studio. Big thanks to listening to the Minutes this week. Of course, if you want more information about City Council, agendas, or minutes, visit thunderbay.ca/council. And if you want to listen to past episodes or maybe provide some feedback, you can do that also at thunderbay.ca/theminutes. You can find the Minutes wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, you can also find us on the city's YouTube channel and on our website as well. Again, that's thunderbay.ca/theminutes. If you want to keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening at City Hall, hit that subscribe button. I'm Stephanie Reid. Thanks for listening this week. Jeff will be back in September.